At first, I start with the samples from the microSD card, on a white A4 paper, and from the first try, I got a great result. I found this image sample to look very cool, so I took a piece of the cardboard and I engraved the same sample. It was so cool to watch the engraving process and how fast this laser engraver moves, and it needs only 30% of the power with this speed to engrave this sample into the cardboard. The results was pretty nice, and I also try out the tiger sample, which turned out great as well. Next, I want to try out to engrave real image, so I took the screenshot from one of my videos and I engraved it in the same piece of cardboard, just on the other side. Since the software automatically converts image to the grayscale, you can pretty much use any photo or image and this laser engraver can engrave it. Next, I took a few pieces of the white laminated plywood that I had laying around, and I tried to engrave some samples and images. I found very quickly that laminated white plywood was not really the best material for a laser engraver, but thanks to the high power output, it was plenty of power to get a deep contrast. I tried out first 50% power, and the engravings had pretty poor contrast at this high speed, so I eventually cranked out the power to 100% and I got very nice deep engraving and high contrast. These horizontal lines that I had with some high quality images, I fixed later in the settings by changing laser per step from 8mm to 10mm. Here you can see the difference in engraving quality between 50% power and 8 lines per millimeter and 100% power and 10 lines per millimeter. You get a much deeper contrast and better resolution. And if you're looking for even more resolution or even higher quality deeper engraving, you can set the laser to do 2 passes, one in horizontal and one in a vertical pass, for example. That will give you even better results with a white laminated plywood, but on the MDF sheets or normal plywood, even 40% power and 1 pass is more than enough for a deep contrast. Next, I try out some cutting, so I took a 3mm MDF sheets and I cut out some sample parts for a Valentine flip box, and the laser cut it in a 3-pass very clean. So I took a new sample and I cut out pieces for a tiny Christmas house, which also was cut out very nice and clean. Then I cut out sample for this nice designed hinge box. Then I did a few more cuttings like this small airplane, a kid's puzzle, and more. And everything turned out great. Also to keep in mind that during deep engraving or cutting process, there is a lot of smoke that gets released in the air, so I do recommend that you use this machine only in a well-ventilated area. For example, I have placed this powerful ventilation fan, which blows huge amount of air outside of this test room. But in the future, I will for sure make some kind of enclosure for this laser engraver with a built-in ventilation. Next, I try on to engrave ceramic and stainless steel, and to my huge surprise, this laser engraver performs awesome with both ceramic and stainless steel engraving. Not only did the laser have power to engrave such a hard materials, it did with such a high precision and detail, which is amazing. And I particularly like how good the engraving was on the stainless steel. So I engraved this huge lotus mandala on the bottom of this stainless steel plate. This engraving took 10 hours to finish, and the effect and the quality is fantastic. I love it. And now, the final words. Well guys, I think the Atomstack did great job with this laser engraver. I like the quality performance and the simplicity of this machine. With the dual laser diodes and combined 10-watt laser output, gives you opportunity to cut and engrave your project much faster, and I was really impressed with the ability to engrave ceramic and even stainless steel. I think this is a really good laser engraver, and I was able to engrave and cut many cool things in a different kinds of materials without too much of the effort. Online you can find tons of free projects, images, logos, and anything you can imagine. Or you can make your own drawings or use your own images and engrave them in all kinds of materials. If you're a creative person, the list is endless what you can do with this laser engraver. And in this price point, I really don't have any complaints about it. I think this is an awesome tool which you can make tons of cool and useful stuff, or who knows, maybe even start a small business.